Kia ora. Welcome to Conversations with Wahine, brought to you by the Wellington branch of the National Council of Women, New Zealand.
Hi everyone, today you're joined with me, Ash, as well as Harita.
Hello, how are you?
And Viola.
Hello everyone.
And we're really excited to be interviewing Fay Bird. Fay grew up in Barnsley, South Yorkshire, England. She moved to New Zealand in 2009 in search of a better work-life balance. She worked as a police officer for 23 years before taking early retirement in 2019. But not for long. She's now back working on the Civil Aviation Authority as an investigator and senior victim advisor role. As part of her self-described midlife crisis, she purchased a motorbike and hasn't looked back since. She's been biking through India and is about to head back for a Himalayan tour in September. Hi Faye, how are you?
Hello, nice to meet you again.
So, midlife crisis resulted in a motorbike. Can you talk us through what it was? Had you always wanted a motorbike? Like, where did the idea come out of?
Yeah, basically it all started back in the late 80s at the time I met my husband. And I were never into motorbikes before that, but I obviously met my husband. He were always into bikes. He had bikes at the time, and then basically, you know, I was a pillion passenger more than a rider at that particular time. Our first bike that we actually had, or that I had, you know, riding the back of, was a FJ 1200, a Yamaha. That's quite a big bike, so a really good bike to do pillion passenger with. And from there we just toured Europe, you know, France, Spain, Belgium, Germany, and did lots of tours in the late 80s, early 90s, probably up until the mid 90s, and then probably about 1999 I decided, wow, this is pretty cool. I want to learn to ride, you know, I want to be the rider instead. So I ended up taking my bike license in 1995 back in the UK, passed that okay, but you know, priorities change, children come along, and I didn't get much riding in the UK other than the odd commute now and again. And then, as you say, it was back in 2019, I think my midlife crisis hit, and I purchased a motorbike because I really wanted to be a rider and wanted to get back into riding myself. And there were also a big event, a worldwide event called Women Riders World Relay. I don't know whether you've heard of it, but in 2019, just as I took early retirement from the police, I thought, right, I'm having a bike, and then this event came up, and it was basically a lady from, I think she was from London, and she wanted to travel the world to promote women riders around the world, and the relay came to New Zealand for 4 days, and I thought, right, I need to get some practice in here because I want to be really part of this event as a rider. And that's what happened. So I took some training back in 2019, did this event, and it was just such an empowering event that were really, I would say, the start of my riding career, solo riding career at that particular time. And since then, it's just been absolutely amazing, you know.
Wow.
So you have been a dormant rider for a few years before picking up the motorcycle again.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, like I said, priorities change, you sell the bike, the children come along, etc., and then, you know, it just changes and things start happening, and then you just decide that, well, no, let's go back to it. So I had probably, you know, a good few years break, and trying to build up my confidence again. It was pretty daunting, you know.
I was going to say, it must have been.
Yeah, exactly, because, you know, you've not rode a bike. I weren't that confident on a bike, and it scares you sometimes, you know. You think, oh my gosh, but I just went through the correct training. I went on some refresher courses with the Ride Forever courses that they run in conjunction with ACC. They're excellent courses to go on.
Yeah,
if you're a person that's not confident with riding, or if you've had a break, you know, they're absolutely amazing, you know, to just get that confidence again. And then just, you know, building up from there really, and just over the years, you just feel more confident as you go along, kind of thing. So that was the start of my bike career, really, I suppose, back in the late 80s, but then jumped on board properly from 2019.
Excellent. And so you've already mentioned that your riding experience was, well, later, probably in 2019, crossed paths with this major women event, and I'll get back to that maybe later.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm interested in your early days as a motorcyclist. Like, I'm a rider as well.
Mm-hmm.
I've been riding for a couple of years now, and I say New Zealand is a pretty florid ground for female riders, and the UK is as well in general. I wonder, what was your experience like? Like, motorcycling is labeled or very often associated with quite a few stereotypes that we come across, right? So either it's a boys' sport or a men's activity, or there's a lot of maybe concern with gangs and affiliations of that kind.
Yeah.
What was your experience like?
Well, I've had a great experience throughout, really. I think, you know, I've had more of an experience riding in New Zealand because, as I said, this is where most of my riding takes place. But, you know, even beforehand, as being on a pillion passenger, it's, you know, it's a very inclusive community to be part of. You know, it's such a diverse range of people. You know, you could have millionaires, you could have social workers, police officers, people who are unemployed or whatever, but all they put the riding gear on and all they want to do is ride. And, you know, you could go into a room of, you know, 20 bikers, regardless of, you know, what their background is, and they will just make you feel so welcome. And they're very, you know, supportive. And, you know, you think, looking at even the gang members, you know, they are quite intimidating sometimes when you've got, you know, when you've got a big group of riders like, you know, the WRWR and the International Female Ride Days. There's a lot of people there, and, you know, it can become a little bit intimidating, you know, but for us as a rider, it's just so empowering, you know, to be part of that culture.
Yeah.
And even, you know, even if you meet a gang member, you know, sometimes they might ride a little bit silly, but, you know, get them on the roadside and they're generally really friendly. So I've never had, you know, any problems in terms of any negative, you know, feedback or anything, you know, in terms of, you know, feeling intimidated by, you know, people. But I understand that, you know, non-riding people do actually, you know, feel that sometimes, and you've just got to, you know, let them know and say, look, you know, they're not always gang members, criminals or anything like that. They're just normal people who just want to ride a bike, and
I'll just add one thing to what you said. You said sometimes the gang members might, you know, drive a little silly. I'll say you don't need to be a gang member.
No,
exactly.
Exactly.
In that category.
Exactly. You know, the groups that I ride with, generally they're very good, but, you know, you do get some that's, you know, wanting to show off a little bit. So regardless of, you know, what the background is,
fair enough.
It is,
So last year you biked through India. I'm really interested to know why you decided to do that, because as we all know, India could not be any different to the Western world. And how did you find it?
Oh, yeah, right. So basically what happened there were a few big events, life-changing events in my life. It was 2020, early 2020, my marriage broke down, COVID hit. You know, I just had, you know, after being in a relationship for so long, I just had a life-changing, devastating event. You know, and it had a bad, you know, an effect on my mental well-being. You know, going through all that and having that knock-on effect. And at that particular time, I'd just recently retired from the police. I was in New Zealand. There were no real family support at that particular time. And, you know, I reached out, you know, I came and worked at the got a job again, and then ultimately ended up back at the Civil Aviation Authority, where I knew that I could, obviously stay in this beautiful country, because that's what I wanted to do. So finally, when COVID stopped and everything else, and I had a close friend that passed away suddenly that I really cared for as well. So there were a lot of things going off in early, 2020 right through to probably the end of 2022. And finally got back to the UK to, recharge and visit family and friends, and then came back to New Zealand at the beginning of 2023 and just felt a little bit flat still. Mm-hmm. And then I was just scrolling through Facebook, and on the WRWR page, the Women Riders World Relay page, there was a post on there from a lady called Anne, who came from the States, and she just made this post about how she'd been to northern India with Lalit, and she'd been riding with him for quite some time, and it just grabbed me. I was hooked, and I just thought to myself, this looks amazing, a really amazing experience, and totally out of my comfort zone, because it was off-road riding. And so I just basically emailed Anne, and within a day or two of coming back from the UK, I was hooked and going to India in September of that year. So that's how it all came about. It was something that I needed as an individual to focus on, to try and get me through, the probably tough times that I'd had, the couple of 3 years previous to that, to signing up and stuff. So yeah.
Wow. I'll just say it's not unheard of in the motorcycling family, we'll say, to get back into it or to start these longer trips after a loss or after some big family or personal changes or shifts in your life. I'm not surprised that might have been the motivator. I'm just very curious to hear how India or why India. Like that's like huge.
It just came, and it was just there at the right time. As I said, I'd come back from New Zealand, and trying to get back on track with my mental well-being and everything, and it was just there, and I just can't describe why I decided to do it, but I just knew that I needed something like that in order to have something to look forward to, and it was completely out of my comfort zone, and I'm so glad that I did it, because I needed something else. I tried family support, I tried talking to people, I'd gone back to the UK and done everything, and I was still,
there was still something missing,
still something there that I couldn't fix. I just set myself a challenge and thought, this is going to be a life-changing event.
That's so cool. I was really interested in the India part, especially because I'm Indian, but I'm born and brought up in New Zealand. And when I go to India, I feel out of place because I'm not born and brought up there, even though I look like them. So that's why I was wondering, like, wow, a non-Indian person going to India to, for motorbiking, and that too female. That's why I was just so interested in that part. What parts of India did you go to? You said you went to the north.
The northern, so the Ladakh region.
Oh yeah.
So we flew into Delhi, and then we went north, and we did a big loop, probably over 3,000 kilometres.
Wow.
Over a 29-day period. Probably 4 or 5 days rest in between. Quite challenging terrain. Really,
I can imagine.
Yeah.
Roads in India are not that great, even
and
on a good day.
Off-road as well.
No, even the actual roads are not that good. So
exactly.
off-road, I can imagine.
Yeah.
How many of you were in the group?
Was it a company or just a group?
So basically, this post went on Facebook, and Anna spoke to other riders all around the world, and it just developed into them talking and said, what about this? Had never happened before. Let's try and promote it for an all-female group. And that's what happened.
Oh, you were all female.
So we were all female.
That's amazing.
This is
So
awesome.
we had, there were 12 that signed up initially. One lady dropped off at the last minute due to health concerns, but there were 11 ladies ranging from ages from 50 right through to 67.
Wow.
We had 7 different countries. So we had Anne, who was instrumental in setting this thing up with Lily, the tour guide. Anne, Chris and Laurie, they were from the States. We had myself, Leslie and Tanya from New Zealand. We had Kiki from Germany. We had Jackie from Australia, Jane from Wales, Gertie from Scotland, what else? Sandy from Canada.
I'm following the names
I
on
love
your
this.
t-shirt.
Yeah. I've got the
Oh, you're
t-shirt,
wearing
yeah.
a t-shirt. I think
Yeah,
I
I
can
think
notice
you've
now.
named
them all.
So this is what we did. Chris
it?
was from one of the girls from the States. She was really good at organising things, and we had this idea of organising t-shirts.
So, hold it. Was it self-organized?
It was the tour group organised it, and developed it into an all-female thing. So, but
Okay.
we'll talk about the tour group in in terms of how it came about. Because Anne, she's been riding with the Lalit Prakash. He's at, I think his company has been going for over 25 years. He's the owner operator. He's rode probably every part of India, so
Wow.
he's very
Wow.
well experienced. He's probably been riding motorcycles since he was a kid.
And he's
So
based in India.
he's based in India, so he's Indian. He's based in India, and Anne, who's the lady from the States, she's rode with Lilith several times, and she promoted him through the Facebook, and that's because that's how it all came about, basically on recommendation of him being a good tour guide. Because there's a lot of tour operators in India.
That are scams.
Yeah, exactly. So you've just got to be very careful.
Yeah.
So it's good that you get the the
Word of mouth.
word
Yes.
of mouth, the recommendation,
Yeah.
because you just never know. And you just think, is this a scam or is it not a scam? You're always thinking that
Yep.
way. So if you've got the recommendations, it's really good. And he's. Am I allowed to say his the website and
Yeah,
everything?
yeah,
Oh,
please
cool.
do, yeah.
Oh, yeah, because I want to promote him.
Oh, yeah.
Because he's absolutely amazing. In terms of, he does everything for you. All you have to do is be able to ride a motorcycle, book your flights, book your visas, and everything else is covered. You've got the bike hire, all the accommodation, the food. You just turn up and just have fun and ride a bicycle, a motorcycle.
Yeah.
I think that would be your new challenge.
Yeah, exactly. That would be a challenge, and everything's meticulously organised prior. So we obviously set up a WhatsApp group, and because some of the ladies were experienced,
Yep.
some were novices like myself. So it were always good, to have that communication beforehand, and trying to figure out what's going to happen and stuff, and trying you're not going to expect everything, but yeah, there were the accommodation. He'd got a full itinerary. You just had to show up and ride. He had like two backup vans with a lead rider himself, a manager, mechanics, 2 drivers.
Wow.
So at any one point, if you didn't feel like you wanted to ride that particular day, you could just have a rest, and one of the guys would ride your bike for you.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
So
that is amazing.
and there were no pressure.
Off-road can be
It's
really
very,
challenging.
very challenging. Yeah. And it is really responsible, because we were going up and down passes, and it were a gradual thing. He took us up gradually to the altitude. I think the furthest we went was about, in kilometres, 5.5 kilometres high, one of the passes. So that's pretty high.
Yeah.
And if you don't do it gradually, you're going to be in trouble. And we heard of stories of other tour guides taking, the clients and sleeping at those heights, and it's just so dangerous to do that. So Lalit really looked after us, and we did it gradually. We went to the pass and then we went back down. We were never staying at that high altitude, which would make us have any issues. Yeah. So so he really looked after us, and he made sure that we were acclimatized to everything.
So when you signed up for it, how long did you have then before you actually went?
So probably in January 2023, and then we left in September.
Nice.
So
you had time.
So there was time, and when I signed up, and not everybody in the group had signed up, so they were coming on at different stages, and normally Lalit takes from groups of 6 up to 12. So, he ended up, securing 12 ladies initially, and he ended up with 11 going. So once the trip had been confirmed and, everybody were confirmed on there, that's you've got a few months to, collaborate and organise things.
Yeah, that's nice.
And get to know people. We had a couple of Zoom meetings prior to, get going out there, but predominantly we just met on the first day in Delhi, and as I said, I knew that when I landed in Delhi, Lalit were there to meet us. He had the biggest smile. We immediately recognised him because we'd seen photographs, and it was just a long lost relative or friend.
Oh, cute.
It was just so friendly, and I just thought, this is a good decision. This is I know that this is going to be an awesome trip, and that we're just meeting Lalit for the first time. Excuse me. So he does literally everything. We did camel rides, we did archery. He always had a cold beer at the end of the day, even in the remote places. So it was incredible.
Wow. It sounds like it wasn't just a motorcycle trip.
Yeah.
Like you mentioned archery.
Oh yeah. So can you talk us through the tour, where you went and kind of what you did?
We did lots of things. As I said, it was a 29-day tour, and the itinerary is huge. And for me to recount everything that we did, impossible.
Don't try.
I did I had a journal and documented everything, but we rode, we stopped for coffees, food. We visited lots of monasteries, which was really good. We went on camel rides, which was unexpected.
Different kind of riding.
Different kind of riding, which was
control.
amazing.
Which was better, the motorbike or camel?
Why not?
The camel was a bit
Well, did you do elephant riding?
No, we didn't do that, but that's something that, I think he does that somewhere, in the south or wherever.
Yeah.
But no, we didn't manage to. But we did tours of Delhi. We did, when we got there, and when we, just before we flew out, we had tours, went on tuk-tuk rides, and so we just wasn't, obviously the main thing was the riding, but there were lots of other things happening as well. Once you had an hard day's riding, you were very tired, so a beer or two, and then we were more or less all in bed, pretty early to get ready for the next day. But
on average, how many kilometers were you riding per day?
It would have been I would say between 100 to the longest we did, probably about 200 kilometers.
Okay,
How
so
many?
but relatively small stretches.
But if you when I looked at the itinerary and thought, well, that's not, you'd say 100 kilometers, and you'd say 5 or 6 hours, even
But
5
because
or
it's
6
off-road,
hours.
the terrain's
How
not that
come
good.
it takes that long?
Yeah.
And you don't realise it
In
until
India,
you're actually doing
the roads
it.
in India are horrible.
Yeah, exactly. So it's so the guide on the itinerary were pretty close to what we actually did. Lalit were quite honest, and he said, right, we've got this today, and the itinerary would be, you've got paved roads, it's tricky, it's paved, unpaved, or whatever. So we know exactly what kind of terrain we're going to be riding to a certain extent. But having said that, obviously they just had a lot of flooding and landslides just before we came, so there were quite a lot of devastation on the roads, and a lot of construction that was happening. So we you might come up to an area where you just be stood for an hour because they're trying to clear a rock, fall or something like that. But Lalit Prakash, and I'm going to tell you his website is, because I don't want you to get mixed up with anyone else. It's www.motorcycletourindia.com, and that's all one word and all lowercase. So motorcycletourindia.com.
I reckon tour guides in India need to learn from him.
Oh,
I've been to
absolutely,
India,
yeah.
and I'm speaking as a New Zealand-born Indian. I've been
Yeah.
to India with my family 6 or 7 times,
Yeah.
and quite often, I'm from my family's from Gujarat, but we quite often go to different parts of India to do the touristy
Yeah.
stuff. And we've had tour guides before, and none of our, and not motorbike tour guides, but
Yeah.
none of them have been even half as good as Lily. I feel
It's
like people need to learn
It's
from
amazing,
him.
Yeah.
honestly. And I
Detail.
like I say, I promote him because it's just such a great company to be within. And he looked after us all, regardless. We're a bunch of females, but that's just his way. He's just so good at organising things and making sure we went from A to B in a safe way. He just wants for us to have fun and for all the ladies to get on and that's the thing.
Sorry, I have a question off topic. Away from the script. Did you have prior experience with off-road, and what about the rest of the group, or in general the level of experience of the group? Was it different?
Yeah, it was. There was mixed. For me personally, I had no off-road experience, and that's why it was such out of my comfort zone.
None whatsoever.
None whatsoever.
And
But
then
I'm
you chose
pretty,
India.
Exactly. And I chose
Go
India.
hard and go home.
You think about it.
It's not just India. It's like 3,000 kilometers
I
of
know.
off-road.
I know, it's great, isn't it? I needed to do something like that, though. When you emigrate to the other side of the world, and
It's true,
you've
yeah.
never visited
You've already
before,
taken a lot of risks in your life.
I think to myself, well, yeah, I've done this, so why not do something else? So
Go do hard things.
I was literally novice, never done any off-road riding at all. So what I did,
That's inspiring.
I was a little bit, worried because I'd not done it before. I didn't know how to ride off-road, so I obviously looked at the YouTube videos and things, and the ladies that, there were a mix of abilities. Some, were excellent and they did it all the time. I think there were probably 2 of us that had never done off-road before. But
Wow.
everybody were really supportive in terms of, when we got there and everything. And what I did, I took a bit of initiative, and before I went, I actually organised through the Ride Forever, or one of the providers in Wellington, Peter Hookham, I actually organised an off-road day with me and 5 other females who were absolutely terrified of gravel. You hit a bit of gravel in the intersection and you think, oh my god,
I'm gonna fall.
yeah, exactly. So going
the
to
feeling.
India, knowing what was going to happen, I just thought, right, I need to get some guidance. And we went over to Masterton, over to the Wairarapa, and there were myself and 5 other ladies, a group that I've met, and just to get that little bit of exposure. Nothing like India, but it gave you some pointers in terms of standing up and just keeping everything.
Learn the
loose
ropes of.
yeah, exactly. Just giving you
off-road.
some basic guidance, but you can learn. You were learning as you were going, and the further you got into the tour, the more confident you was getting. But it was still pretty challenging.
And how were you? So, I mean, obviously, you must have been feeling out of your depth with going to India and going off road, and you hadn't done it before. How were you feeling on the way there? The nerves, were you nervous about India? How were you feeling?
Yeah, I mean, I weren't really nervous. It was just that, I suppose, the anticipation. Getting there to India. I've travelled the world. I've been to a lot of places, but I've never been to anywhere. I've never been to India before. I knew it was, quite a busy place to be. So it was just having that anticipation, what to expect. But as I said, when we first landed in Delhi, it just felt, really good. I just I weren't particularly nervous about anything.
You're amazing.
No, honestly.
I like that you said quite a busy place to be.
Yeah.
Only the most populated country in the world.
Really fit that off, like
A little bit busy.
I get anxiety when I go there.
I know.
Similar
like
to
them.
Toronto.
I'm pretty cruisy with things.
How did you find the crowds, actually?
Yeah, they were. I mean, obviously, when you land in Delhi, the heat hits you first.
Oh, yeah.
The smell.
I was just thinking, I was doing the math in my head. You went
Yeah.
in September,
Yeah,
which is very hot in India.
yeah.
Because I was doing the math in my head, and I'm like, that's just the very end of summer.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what temperature is that?
40?
Oh,
Was
I
it?
can't. Yeah, it was pretty hot at
Mm.
times, especially when we arrived in Delhi. But then when we went further north, it's it did cool down a bit, but
Yeah.
not it was still pretty hot.
Yeah.
To be
I
honest.
think normally Delhi gets to about 40 in
Yeah.
summer, from memory, from the
Mm.
times I've been.
It's hot.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
ouch.
So yeah.
And even I've never been to India in summer. I
Mm.
only go in winter because I can't handle the heat.
can't handle it.
So for you to go, I'm like, oh my god, you're putting me and my family to shame.
You only live once.
I like that.
Oh,
I have no idea where we are.
We totally went off script.
Yeah,
Oh, no, it's all right.
Could you give us 1 minute to?
No, that's okay. We're
I
on
think 5.
question
Yeah. Do you,
5.
do you
I
want to
think.
take? Oh,
Mhm.
or I can take that one on. Okay. We'll cut this out. So, okay, sounds like it was an amazing,
Mm.
intense, and very rich experience over basically a month.
Mm.
But what were the highlights for you? Like the top 3 things that you take away?
Highlights. Oh, right.
Yeah.
Cool. For me, I think. Well, let's have a think. Top 3. Give me 3. It's too many.
Give me the one.
As
that-
many
No,
as
I know. Honestly, the highlights were just arriving in Delhi and knowing that I'd made the right decision. And when Lilith met us, it was like, yeah, this is amazing. And then just the ride in itself. When you get on, on a motorcycle, you're just free to do whatever. It's your time, and there's just. You don't think about the realities in life, your stresses, your strains, your aches and your pains, because especially when you're doing challenging riding like this, you've got to be focused all the time, because there were sheer cliffs at one side, a shelf of about 5 meters at rocky road, and then a big drop at the other side, so you literally had to focus. So and the scenery is just stunning. You can't describe how magical it is, really. I was just amazed. I smiled from day one right through. The photographs that you take, you can't, you've just got to be there to, actually experience the amazing thing. And, the women, the ladies that we met, they was absolutely brilliant. We all got on really well. We gelled. That you sometimes worry about, a group of ladies or a group, you're not going to get on, but we all got on really well, and we supported each other, and we're going to be friends for life. And then obviously you've got Lilith and his team. They were instrumental in how much that trip was a life-changing event for me in particular. And it was just incredible, that we had a variation of accommodations, from tenting to hotels, homestays, and things like that. And after the one highlight that sticks in my mind is we'd had a tough day. It was a long day. We were just in the middle of nowhere. We turned up. We didn't know what to expect, but there were a load of just 2-man dome tents, and we knew it was going to be very remote, and there were, and it's like, oh, how remote is it? And then we just get going and going, and then all of a sudden this plateau opened up, there's mountains everywhere, and then grass thing with 6 dome tents on, and it was like, right, we're here, and we're staying here for the night, and it was just in the middle of nowhere. And this guy, he just cooked us the most magnificent feast ever. It was the best time, but the best night actually. And we were in a dome tent in the middle of nowhere, no running water. We were all in our riding gear. We all, slept in our riding gear. The toilet was just a tent with a hole, and it was like, oh, this is good. But it was just absolutely so meaningful and peaceful. And it was just very spiritual, I think. I think that's the word. And you just had to be there because it was just incredible. So that was probably one of the highlights for me. Just being in that situation.
Thank you for sharing that. Like, you've talked so much about things that I can relate to as a motorcyclist. Like you've made this connection multiple times about riding and mental well-being and being focused, and it's a form of meditation as well, at least in my experience.
Yeah.
Just like you said, you have to focus on the road, on the dangers of constantly assessing what's happening around you. And I can only imagine if you top that with enjoying the amazing scenery that you once in a lifetime you're gonna see, and be careful of the rock, and you might slip off a cliff. So I mean, there's extra layers to it, even more so in such a special trip. So it sounds extremely alienating on one hand, but on the other side, just making you feel connected to everything, right?
It's freeing, isn't it?
Absolutely.
It's the freedom, the wind therapy, and a lot of we middle-aged ladies, we've got adult children and that are no longer reliant upon us, and so we can think, right, well, this is now, it's my time, do what I want to do, and that's the thing for me.
Yeah.
It is that it's just about being there in the moment and just doing it for yourself. It's just incredible. It's certainly one of my happy places. It's at the top there. Obviously my children, and then motorcycle.
Depends on the day.
Depending how bad obviously being, obviously, but no, overall it's definitely one of my happy places, definitely.
It's really inspiring as well. Just, I think sometimes people get caught up being like, oh, if I don't achieve and do these big things in my 20s, then, it's like, well, I have to settle down. You can't. And just that idea of, it doesn't matter what age you are, you can do anything, anytime, and just really inspiring to go so out of your comfort zone. Like, just, it's amazing.
Yeah.
That's it.
Kind of reminds me, do you know who Diana Nyad is? The American swimmer? I just watched the movie a few weeks ago. That's why
I don't know.
Comes to mind.
Yeah.
She tried to swim between Florida and Cuba when she was in her 20s and failed multiple times. And then when she was, I think it was in 2014 or 2012, when she was in her early 60s, she said, I'm going to do this now.
Yeah.
And she did it 4 times and failed. And then on the 5th time, and this is in her early 60s, she succeeded. Yeah. It just reminds me of that everyone said to her, you're too old to do this now, you can't do this now. And because she tried 4 times, she kind of got halfway, quarter way. And it's one of the most, that ocean has got box jellyfish and so many hazards. They all said to her, you've tried, just give up now, give up, you've done it enough times. And she's like, no, I'm not going to die until I've done this. And there was a movie made about her. I watched the movie on Netflix. It just, what you were saying just reminded me of that.
Exactly.
Well, while we're on the Netflix wave, I've heard from someone sitting next to me right now, Harita, that there is a movie on Netflix that is all about a group of women going through India on motorcycles. And I watched the trailer today, and I'm just biting my elbows for not watching it earlier because it looks like amazing. Have you seen that movie? It's called Duck Duck.
Yes, I think I have. I've heard of it.
Before or after your trip?
It
I can't remember now.
It only came out last year.
Yeah, no, I'm not sure whether I have watched it. I think I've heard about it. But, I think I did. But I don't think I have watched it actually. But
you're going to have to see, is it true to your life?
Yeah, I'm going to see, because I think it's, they probably did the trip similar timings to what we did.
Yeah, the movie was made in 2023, so I wonder if it was similar timing.
Yeah. Be honest, say, was it secretly you? Was there a camera?
Not saying, but we had fun riding through India. We there were times when we'd go through with our little tutus and stuff, so we turned a few heads as we went through the villages. We had so much fun.
Was there anything that didn't go to plan, like, or that you didn't expect?
Let me think. I think in terms of the tour itself, everything went to plan. It was, amazing how it was organised. So in that respect, and I was trying to rack my brain with this question. I think everything went to plan. The thing that, for me, when you've got 11 female riders together, in India, from the Western world, or from all these parts of the world, I think we was kind of like, it was like everybody looked at us thinking, what's happening here, and we took our helmets off and they could see that there were 11 female riders. So I think they were amazed and intrigued at, why we was there. And, some people that just asked to take a selfie or asked to take a photograph, so forever like, yeah, sure, no problem. Sometimes there were a few that were a bit more disrespecting and they just imposed themselves on you, and that sometimes felt a little bit uncomfortable. And they were friendly, but you just had to say, look, hold on a minute, we're just having dinner, or we were sat round the pool in the hotel and there'd be somebody videoing us, for whatever reason, I'm not really sure.
It's
but
because you were a group of white women.
I don't know what it was, but
that's
I mean,
a lot of Indian people are obsessed with white people, because a lot of them, nothing bad, it's because a lot of them have never left India, so they've never seen white people except for on TV.
So that was the only observation that I saw. Everything was quite positive. From being in Delhi right up into the Himalayas, everybody was friendly. You could walk around freely and feel safe.
That's really good to hear, because I think India often has a real reputation, particularly in Western media, of being portrayed as very unsafe, especially for female travellers. So I was really interested to see how you felt safety-wise.
I think I'm pretty. I've experienced a few things and seen a lot of stuff in my careers that I've had. And so I'm pretty happy wandering around. I would just say that it's always good when you go into places like India just to have a guide that's a good guide, and who you can rely upon, because that's really crucial, I think, to have that guide, I think it were obviously Delhi's very busy. Up where we were doing the riding, it weren't as busy. So it's a different, lots more traffic in Delhi. We didn't actually ride in Delhi, which was, it was quite, when we had a wander around initially on the first day, it was just cars, people just everywhere, toot, it were like, oh my gosh, what have I done, kind of thing. But, that it's, they're just peeping to say, look, we're here, kind of thing, I'm coming through, and you soon got to know what that peeping was all about. It weren't because they were being disrespectful, but it was like organised chaos. They knew exactly what the, and it just went, it looked like so unorganised. But everybody would just know exactly what they were doing.
That's every part of India is like that. So my family's actually from the state of Gujarat, which is near Bombay, but my husband's family is from Delhi. So I've actually went to Delhi in 2018, and I thought Bombay was quite crowded, because I quite often go to Bombay when we go to India. That's the closest international airport. I went to Delhi with my husband in 2018, and I was like, oh wow, this is even more crowded than Bombay. we went in October 2018 for one of his friends' weddings. It was hot. There was so much smog and pollution and dust and cars. And we actually went on a motorbike once. And I got so scared I had to ask the driver to stop so we could catch a rickshaw. So for you to say you motorbike through India, I'm like, I can't even sit as a passenger.
But they're used to it. We got on a coach or a little minibus to get from A to B one particular day, and like I said, there's just traffic everywhere, and then next minute you're looking out of the window and there's this motorcycle with a guy with an helmet on, and then his wife
and his whole family
on there without helmets, and it's like,
and the kids sitting on the mother's
all
lap.
about? incredible. It's just like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. You see some sights, definitely.
Definitely.
You mentioned how interested people were to see this group of women riding, across maybe remote areas. I'm particularly curious to ask you, were there any women interested or coming up to ask you questions?
Yeah. Yes, there were. In India, you did tend to get that as well, because, there's not many, that ladies that ride there, to be honest. But because we, before we went on the trip, there was a renowned female mechanic, and we tried to get her on the group, but it just didn't work out for whatever reason. But there were females interested in coming and having a chat to us and things like that. So yeah, but unfortunately we couldn't get this lady or this young girl on who was inspiring.
She was a mechanic, like
Yeah,
as her
yeah,
actual
she was.
job.
Yeah, she was
Wow.
a mechanic, I believe. I don't know who it was, whether it was Lilith or whether it was Anne or one of the group. And we tried to try and get this lady involved because I think the World Relay, Women Riders World Relay, went to India as well. So I think they got a little bit of exposure in terms of that. But predominantly, what I saw, there weren't many Indian female riders.
No, even all the times I've been to
Yeah.
India,
In
hardly
fact,
ever seen women
yeah.
ride motorbikes.
Yeah, exactly. The odd occasion you'd come across someone like a pillion, on the back of someone. But yeah, we didn't particularly see any Indian, solo riders as such.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the World Relay? You've mentioned it a few more times. What is that?
Oh yeah, so it's the women. Let me just get it right. Women Riders World Relay. So, because I think how it developed is because they wanted to promote women riders around the world, not only to to say, look, yeah, we can ride, and there's women out there, because there's a lot of women riders in Wellington, surprisingly.
Yeah.
When we did the WRWR, I jumped on in Wellington, and we ended up in Invercargill, and there were in excess of 200 riders.
Wow.
And yeah,
Wow.
before
Yeah.
that, I didn't
New Zealand has
realise it was, that big, really, because I used to ride, in mixed groups initially, and it weren't until I was exposed to the WRWR that you realised actually there is a lot of women riders out there.
Yeah.
And
I hear you.
and it's like I said, promoting the there's women around that love to ride motorcycles as well, and also promoting, trying to get people to acknowledge that, and make clothing for us that fits correctly.
I hear you.
Because like
Oh, I never thought about
They've
that.
never thought
I
that
know,
problem.
it's the only
Oh yeah.
shopping situation where women
Yeah,
have
jackets and
really
limited
hard.
choices,
Very
very
difficult.
limited.
I
It's very,
never
very
thought
difficult.
about
Yeah.
that. Of course.
So that's
yeah.
from my point of view. That's what it was all about, because. Yeah, and even now, even probably 5 years down the line, it still can be quite difficult to purchase riding gear for a female that fits nice and you feel comfortable in. You
Yeah.
know, so.
What's your secret shopping place?
Oh.
You can share with me.
I get my hand-me-downs. No, I don't. There's a few places that there's. You can buy things online. There's a few up north. I can't remember the name of it now, but there's a few local ones that you can go and get a bargain with now and again. Yeah,
It's hard.
it's very difficult. It's
Yeah,
not.
I know,
It's
I
not.
know.
It's not cheap, but it's obviously you need the riding gear for the protection. It's obviously there. It probably can save you if you do come off.
It's funny that you said I used to go into mix rides, and there would be a handful of female, maybe none, maybe one, maybe two. And then the moment you started hanging out with female only, you discovered a whole world, because that was my experience exactly. I also did a couple of group rides in Wellington, and I think I came across one other woman, two maybe,
Yeah.
and you spot each other.
Yeah,
of
you
course.
find each other.
Lock
and it's
eyes
like-
across the room.
Yeah.
Exactly. You do, and that's you
and
know
that's the starting point, right?
That's the
And then-
starting point, and it is because there were WIWR, and then there's also International Female Ride Day
Yes.
every year on the 4th of May,
Yes.
and that's I ride mixed groups, but I'm also part of a female riding group. There's a couple of guys in there
Can
as
you
well. that
share which group it is?
Yeah, they're called. These are great. They're absolutely amazing ladies, and the guys that are there as well. But the group's called. It's funny. Coffee Riders of Wellington. So yeah, it's not just about riding. We love rides. We're like-minded, intelligent, strong women, and there's also a couple of guys in there as well. Like I said. And it's not just about the riding. We do social events, quizzes. We go
So
out
coffee.
for dinner. We go for coffee.
Nice.
We support the charity rides.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
We quite a few of us did the Tiamonga Hospice charity ride a couple of weekends ago. We're doing the what's the Ride of Respect coming up this weekend, which is
this
for
weekend.
the patriots, the support the veterans and stuff. So that group, and also I'm part of the Upper Hot Cosy Club Riders as well, which is my mixed group.
Right.
So again, we support local things, and we go for rides and go for weekends away and things like that. So
Nice.
I've got a cross section of both male and female riders, but yeah, it's pretty cool.
You're like a family.
Yeah, absolutely, definitely. It's so supportive, and if you need any help, there's going to be always someone there to give you that help.
Have you convinced your daughters into riding?
Oh, well, yes. Grace, she's the oldest. I don't think she's ever had an interest in it. But Mary, my youngest, she's 19. She's kind of like born to ride, and I think she's going to probably look into doing some lessons and getting up and running. She goes on the back of me, and she's quite competent in being a pillion passenger. So she knows what to do and everything. I think she's got the bug. So yeah, but obviously see what happens there.
That's
Nice.
cool.
That's awesome.
Could be a lovely family tradition.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Fantastic. Well, do you have plans for this International Female Rides Day, which is coming up?
Yes.
My gosh, it's like 3
3
weeks.
It is. It's 3 weeks' time. Yes, we have. So, last year, a group called the Central Gems
Yes.
organised it.
I was
don't know
there.
whether you part of it. Oh, really? Over
Yes,
in Masterton.
I was.
Oh, wow. Well, I was there. I didn't
Oh my
see you there.
gosh! I'll look back at the pictures. I'm
Yeah,
sure
yeah,
it's got the
definitely.
two of us in the same.
Amazing. But anyway, so that was really good, and that's where I met the Coffee Riders of Wellington.
Oh, right.
More or less from there. I'd seen a few females around prior to that, but that's where I got the connections mainly from. So they organised it last year, and the Waikato Leaders, I think, are hosting it this year up in Cambridge.
Okay.
So it's
A bit further up.
Yeah, a little bit further up. So I'm going up to that. I'll ride up on Thursday with a group of the the ladies that I ride with, and we're going to make a long weekend of it and do the ride on Saturday. And, yeah,
Nice.
So there'll be in excess of 200 bikes getting up there,
Yeah.
and it's just so you get in the group and you're just staggered, and it's just like that feeling of empowerment, It's like,
Yeah.
I'm here, come on, and you just feel really good.
Yeah.
It's good to be part of that, and of that accomplishment that you're part of such a supportive group.
And you're back in India in September
Yes,
Are you going back this
I
year?
know.
Tell us
Yeah,
more.
I know.
with the same group?
Same. Well, the elite he's got trips throughout the year confirmed, and I knew there was always one going to happen, the Himalayan tour again in September, and I says, no, I can't do this again. I can't, not for the fact I don't want to go back. It's just that I thought, well, I need to do something else. But it just hooked me. He sent an email a couple of weeks ago, and it's this tour's confirmed, and I just was scrolling at and then decided to book flights, and here I am. I'm actually going back in September for the same tour, which there might be a couple of tweaks to it, but ultimately
Is it the same route as well?
It's more or less the same route, so I know what to expect. Anne, again, the lady from the States, she's going back, and then Tanya from New Zealand's going back. So there's 3 of us returning riders, and the group's going to be a mixed group this year. So there's going to be between 10 and 12 of us going back to embark on the Himalayan tour again in September. So
Amazing.
I just can't wait for that.
Well, I think this is even better advertising to that tour than
yeah,
everything you've said
definitely,
earlier.
yeah.
Like, I am
You got a
going
return
back.
customer.
I'm going back a year later and doing exactly the same.
Yeah.
Exactly.
That speaks volumes.
That is,
Yeah.
it absolutely does. You know, because I know
Wow.
what such a, fantastic experience it is, and I just can't wait for it to come. And I'm not waiting so long. It's only probably less than four months now.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh,
So it's going to
Gosh.
come pretty quickly.
So my fingertips are getting itchy. I want to
Yeah,
check
yeah,
with my
yeah.
phone.
You can sign up for it. You got
can
time.
sign up. Yeah, definitely.
Maybe next year. Oh my god, that's so cool.
I wanted
That's
to know
amazing.
one thing. When you on any of the rides you've done, or especially the India one because that was quite a long one, did anyone in your group's bike break down, or did anything like that happen where it was like, oh no, now we need to stop and fix this?
Yeah, well, what happened is, there was sometimes, because you're on, gravel terrain, sand, you're going through water and all sorts. So sometimes things happen, but, the group that we went with, Lolita, had got a backup group. So, if there'd been mechanics there, they'd fix it. So if there were a problem with the gears and you managed to get to the hotel, by the next morning the bike was up and running to go again.
Like magic.
Yeah,
That's
and
amazing.
if there were a problem, you couldn't change the gear for whatever reason, the lead to jump off his bike, give you his bike, and then he'd ride the
Wow.
dodgy bike, and if you came off when you wanted that rest, you could go into the van
Yep.
and the mechanics or
Someone
the
else would
backup
ride it
driver
for you.
would ride it for you.
Oh my God.
So which did happen.
He's brilliant.
I had an issue with my gears not changing properly,
Ouch.
and I could go along, but then he says, right, give me the bike, and he used that, and then we were eating dinner and having beers later in the evening, and the poor old mechanics
They're
there
fixing
like
Yeah.
stripping it down and fixing it, and by the next morning it was ready to go again. So
Wow.
That's
So
actually
good.
absolute service. And in fact one of the bikes, it broke down and they couldn't repair it, so we got to the hotel that night, and then one of the backup teams rode another bike to there, which were probably 2 or 3 hours away from where it
wow.
was, and it were ready to go the next morning for one of the ladies whose bike, and that got put on the ute and taken away to be fixed. So we were never delayed with any mechanical problems at all. which
That
is
sounds
really
like
good.
a
This is so
top
good.
top organization.
Yeah, it is.
Wow.
I have
Impressive.
never come across a tour guide that
Yeah.
is anywhere near this good in India.
I've never heard
I
of
need to find this
Well,
guy.
you need
I've
to
never
find
heard
I've
of a
got his email
motorcycle.
address.
Yeah, I'm gonna find him on
And
social
honestly,
media.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a motorcycle tour that well organized, like in such a remote place as
Yeah.
well. Like it's so impressive. Well, we will be sharing Lalit's details.
Yeah.
Definitely. I've got his email address, and I've already told you the
Perfect. Well,
website, because there
yeah.
are, if you do search in Ladakh Motor Tours, which is where it goes as, it comes up with lots of others.
Oh,
So you've got to
yeah.
get the specific email and the specific website address.
we'll
That's
have
why I
to
wanted
share
to
it.
Yeah.
spell it out, because I just want this guy, he's such a great person that he deserves, to get, people on these tours, because he absolutely loves it. He loves doing it.
Yeah.
I mean, you'd
Um,
have to be like
yeah,
the
yeah,
passion and
exactly.
the
So
shows and the
The passion,
organisation.
and he just wants everyone to have a great time. So he deserves everything that he gets, and I highly recommend him, definitely.
I just have loved chatting with you, and I mean, I'm really interested. Kind of before we wrap up, you started getting into motorbikes because of your, self-described midlife crisis. You've done this amazing trip. Like, what's changed for you now? Like, how do you feel after this?
Oh, for me, like I said, with the, what happened and the mental well-being, for me, I needed the trip, and just to help me get through life being an adult sometimes.
Yeah.
I just needed something, something more, and the trip. Sorry, I'll get a bit closer. For me, it exceeded my expectations. It was a life-changing experience, and you look at some of the poverty and some of the people and the conditions in India. And then you just reflect on your own life and the reality of, well, actually, I've got a pretty good life, and I'm pretty lucky to be able to do these type of trips and to live in such a beautiful country, because not everybody can do that. And I think, doing something like this, it has completely brought me out of my comfort zone, and it's been a challenge, but it's just had an absolutely life-changing effect on me. My mental well-being is pretty good, and I put it down to doing something like this trip, because it's just an amazing feeling, and literally, I'm living my best life.
I love it.
Honestly, you
I know,
are.
I'm always like on Facebook and stuff, and it's like, some people say, I want your life there. I says, it's not all that good, but I'm trying my damn bestest to have, to be happy, and
On a motorcycle.
on a motorcycle, yeah, definitely. It is certainly my happy place. You can forget all your worries, your stresses in life, and you can just be there in the moment and do it for yourself.
That's
So
amazing.
which is
What
good.
what a wonderful note to close on.
Honestly,
Yeah.
thank
So-
you so much, Faye. It's just amazing, and honestly, I mean, I can't even motorbike, and you have got me sold.
Yeah, exactly.
Off-road
Yeah,
endurance,
do,
yeah.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
cool.
great. Well,
Thank you so much.
from motorcyclist to motorcyclist.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Faye, for sharing your thoughts, your experience, your view,
Your passion.
your passion,
Yeah.
and really that this was amazing. I can't wait to see how many people turn up saying, I'm going to start motorcycling
Yeah, hopefully.
after hearing this episode. So
That's
thank
the
you so
plan.
much.
No worries, thanks. It's been great. Thank you for the invite. Cheers.